To Shattering Myths. I am Yahowah. We're joined now by a very good friend, IQ al-Rassooli, who gave us a bit of a scare last week. IQ was had some heart tremors and was rushed to the hospital, but fortunately everything has checked out and he's back with us again today. Hello, my friend. How are you?
Thank you. Much better. Thank you.
Good. Before we begin, IQ, we have Vince, who has called in from Wyoming, and I think wants to at least discuss whether or not Christianity or Islam has actually had the worst influence on humankind. Vince, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Yahowah. Yeah, my perspective is going to be a little bit different, okay? The reason is because I'm looking at everything from, say, like the last 6,000 years minus about 20 to 2033 of Yom Kippurim's fulfillment. Mm-hmm. And I see Christianity or the sun god religion of Babylon being like a chameleon. I mean, it's adapted itself to all the different, cultures and stuff that came along. Mm-hmm. And to make a long story short, because Christianity is a continuation of that religion, and all the other religions and politics has responded to it, either being for it or against it, makes Christianity and its influence on the world far worse than Islam. And I see Christianity pretty simple in that I see Christianity like a dressed up pig. It's got jewelry, it's got hats, It's got fancy stuff, something like a Christmas tree, all lit up with tinsel and stuff. And so people don't see it for what it is. And while it's sticking you in the gut, it's telling you all these platitudes and these nice things. Whereas Islam is just a pig. There's no dress, it's not dressed up. It's going to tell you it's going to kill you, and it kills you. And it gives the impression that it's far worse, but the end result of the soul being destroyed is the same. So,
yeah, what your point is poison that has right on the front of the jar, I'm poison. If you drink me, or even if you touch me, you're going to die. Is that worse than when the same poison is put in Kool-Aid and all of a sudden looks good, tastes good, but is equally as deadly? Which one of those two is likely to create more mayhem? It's a little bit like also, though, comparing between these two religions and their influence, like comparing the bubonic plague that killed 75 million people in the 14th through 16th century to smallpox, which killed 300 million people over a much longer period of time, from the 5th century BCE to the 9th century. And so I see it a bit like, I think Islam is like the bubonic plague. Over a very short period of time, killed 75 million people. Smallpox has killed 4 times more people, but it's taken it a lot longer to do it because that poison was diluted, laced in Kool-Aid, if you will. What's your thoughts, IQ, on the relative, if you consider their entire history, on the relative mayhem that has been caused by these two religions?
Well, it's a difficult. Well, it's not really a difficult one. The way I look at it is very simple. Those people who committed the atrocities in the name of Jesus were not Christians. Full stop. That's the end of the conversation. Nowhere can anybody find a single verse in the whole of the New Testament inciting the followers of Jesus to murder anybody who does not believe as they do. Doesn't exist. But in Islam, it exists. So we're not comparing apples for apples. The Crusaders who carried the cross on themselves were not Christians. That's all. That's very simple. It's not complicated. They murdered more Christians, especially Byzantine Christians, and they killed Jews and Muslims. The history is there. So I'm talking from the from the point of view of their scripture. Muhammadan Islam, the scripture is vile. Hate-mongering, war-mongering, misogynist, racist, duplicitous, vile.
actually says on the outside of the jar, I'm poison. That was what the point that I made, is that,
I agree with you 100%.
Islam is Allah is so demented, so toxic, so deadly, that Allah actually says, I'm poison. I mean, anybody with an open eyes is going to notice that. I will just make one little distinction in the thing that you said. I think that those who did kill as Christians were Christians. The word Christos actually speaks of the application of drugs, and so I think that the mayhem that has been perpetrated in the name of Christianity by Christians has been a correct application of their religion. The distinction is that those who call themselves Christians are clueless as to who Yahusha was, what he did, what he said. So your point is completely valid, that if you were actually following the example and listening to the words of Yahusha, you would not be killing. You wouldn't be deadly. You wouldn't be going off on crusades. But the moment you begin to follow in the footsteps of Yahusha and listen to what he has to say, you cease to be a Christian. So the dichotomy and the problem with Christianity is where Muslims actually emulate Muhammad, which was what makes them murderous. It's what makes them terrorists, because Muhammad was a murdering terrorist. Christians have created a mythological being that has more in common with Dionysus than with Yahusha. And so they are creating their mayhem on behalf of a mythical being that was created mostly by Paul. Well, Vince, thank you for the question, Vince. It is quite thought-provoking to consider which of these two religions is actually the worst. IQ, what we wanted to do today was to continue, at least for today's program, and I don't know how many more we'll be able to do this on before we switch to a different topic, one that is even more relevant as it relates to current history. We're going to, in the future programs, begin to talk about the myth of the Palestinians, the myth of a place called Palestine, and the reason that Muslims universally want to kill Jews. But today, I want to continue with the myths and the stupidity of the Quran. And your next point is that by depriving humanity of free will, and therefore having no choice in any manner, that it is actually impossible for Allah to be merciful. It is impossible for Allah to be moral. It is impossible for Allah to be just, because Allah is manipulating, according to the Quran, everything, and that people have absolutely no say in what they do or what happens around them.
I would like our listeners to understand that we're discussing predestination.
Correct.
And the most important thing is the verse in the Quran, Al-An'am 6.59. And it says, not a leaf doth fall, but with Allah's knowledge. That's the God of Muhammad. There is not a grain in the darkness of the depths of the earth, nor anything fresh or dry, but is inscribed in a record clear for those who can read. إِلَّا فِي كِتَابٍ مُبِينٍ. This verse represents one of the clearest declarations of the concept of predestination in the Quran. Ladies and gentlemen, this concept degrades the human faculty and spirit by straitjacketing it into whatever status it is born to. Neither intellectually nor morally can this be acceptable, since it makes Allah guilty of being unjust, immoral, and full of hate, as he condemns many of humanity to punishments for committing crimes that they weren't forced because they were predestined to do, because they were already predestined to commit them by Allah.
Yeah, this is very much like the whole concept of Islam. If your eyes are open, the vial that is Islam says, I'm poison. Let me read something from Tabari. This is Tabari, Volume 1, page 305. It says, that would be in the Sunni translation of Tabari. Sunni by Sunni press. That has nothing to do with Sunni Islam. It's the State University of New York press. Then Allah rubbed Adam's back and brought forth his progeny. and every living being to be created by Allah to the day of resurrection came forth at Na'man. He scattered them in front of him like tiny ants. He made covenants with them. He took 2 handfuls and said, to those on the right, enter paradise, and to the others, enter the fire. I do not care. Now, of course, why would you enter an agreement, a covenant with someone, and say, hey, I'm going to take the ones that these ants that I've put on the right, and they enter paradise, and all the ants that I have put on the left enter the fire. I do not care. Then to body 1306. The messenger said, Allah created Adam and then rubbed Adam's back with his right hand and brought forth his progeny. Then he said, I have created these as the inhabitants of paradise. Then he rubbed his back with his left hand and said, I have created these for the fire, that would be for hell. And they will act as the inhabitants of the fire, or they will act hellish. A man asked, O messenger, how is that? Muhammad replied, when Allah creates a human being for paradise, he employs him in the act of the inhabitants of paradise, and he will enter paradise. And when Allah creates a human being for the fire, he will employ him to act as the inhabitants of the fire, and they will enter the fire. In other words, Muhammad didn't have a clue as to how that could be. So here is then the Quran. This is Quran 56th Surah 8th verse. Those who are of the right hand. Now, you wouldn't know who the right hand are without the hadith, which tells you that Islam without the hadith is drivel. Those who are of the right hand, how happy will they be of the right hand? Those who are the left hand, how unhappy will be those of the left hand? Who will be honored in the garden of bliss? A number of the earlier peoples and a few of the later ages on couches wrought of gold, reclining face to face, youth of never-ending bloom, that means perpetual virgins, will pass around them, cups of decanters full of sparkling wine. They shall not be affected with headache thereby, nor shall they get exhausted. I mean, that's Allah's little blue pill, Viagra. And such fruits as they fancy, and that they relish, companions, pure and beautiful, with big eyes like pearls, hidden in their shells as a reward. That's from the Quran. Everybody that was created according to Allah was predestined either for hell or for Allah's brothel. Some God, huh? We will return with IQ al-Rassooli and why predestination is the label on Islam that says, don't trust this God. If you consume this, it will kill you. I am Yada. This is Shattering Myths.
Hi, this is Gary Cooper with Midas Resources, Gold and Silver. Don't be surprised when the global elite confiscates money from your bank account one day. They have already very clearly telling you that they're going to do it. With what just happened in Cyprus serving as a blueprint for future bank bailouts, if you are concerned about keeping your money, why not consider storing your wealth in gold and silver? Call me, Gary Cooper, at 1-800-686-2237, extension 130. Together we'll discuss your options of buying gold and silver. Again, the global elite have plans for your money, and it doesn't include you. So call me, Gary Cooper, at 1-800-686-2237, extension 130, and I will send you a booklet with 10 reasons why gold and silver could be right for you. Again, don't get caught with money in your account when the next bank bailout hits. Call me, Gary Cooper, at 1-800-686-2237, extension 130.
It's time for a home security quiz. What effective home security device is smaller than a coffee cup, fakes out burglars into thinking someone is home at your house while you're away, plugs into any wall outlet, is recommended by many police departments, and sells for less than $30? Yes, it's Fake TV. This year, about 1 in every 50 U.S. homes will have a break-in, with burglars usually picking the easy target, a dark house that looks like no one is home. Fake TV is a small electronic security device that makes it look like someone is home watching TV by simulating the light from a real TV. Fake TV could be the difference between coming home to a secure house or one that's been ransacked. To get your Fake TV for only $29.95 with free shipping, go to faketv.com or call 1-877-5-FAKE-TV. That's 877-532-5388 or go to faketv.com. Fake TV, the burglar deterrent.
Imagine waking one morning only to find your family shivering in the dark because you couldn't afford to pay your electric bill. That's closer than you think. You probably haven't heard about this yet because the liberal media has been suppressing what is fast becoming the most shocking news story of 2012. Obama's secret war on coal that could increase your already high power bill as much as 400% in the coming months. As shocking as it sounds, it may well be just a matter of time before the lights start going out across America. But here's some good news. There's an underground video at exposed123.com that thousands of smart patriots have used to end their slavery to the corrupt electricity monopoly. The video at exposed123.com has already been banned by Google, and the liberal media is doing everything in its power to take it down and keep America in the dark. So watch it now at exposed123.com before it's too late. Again, that's exposed123.com.
Introducing a 30-day emergency food supply for only $99. At 30dayfoodsupply.com, you can purchase Oregon Trail Foods' 1 month supply of high-quality, nutritious, and healthy emergency meals for less than $100. These vegetarian meals are natural, high in carbs and protein, and are packed with oxygen absorbers in Mylar pouches. They take up to 70% less space than number 10 cans, have a 20-year shelf life, and huge portions, over twice the serving size of some competitors' meals. Oregon Trail Foods and 30dayfoodsupply.com keep prices low by buying direct from producers in Oregon and then pass the savings on to you. Purchase a 30-day 90-serving emergency food supply for only $99 this month, and $10 ships your entire order to the lower 48. Call 541-673-6666 or visit 30dayfoodsupply.com, where they make preparedness affordable. 30dayfoodsupply.com. Got it? Get it. Go to 30dayfoodsupply.com.
Welcome back to Shattering Myths. We're here with al-Rassooli. IQ is the author of Lifting the Veil. It is a series of volumes that explain many of the issues associated with Islam. I particularly like to discuss Islam with IQ because I think he knows and understands the religion probably better than anyone, but also because the importance of this topic. The reality is that because of the rage and violence and destruction and death that Islam promotes, the world over the next 20 years is going to be engulfed in World War III. That war will be started because of the rage and the poison of Islam. And so anything that we can do that warns people, that causes more people to stand up against this religion, the fewer people that are going to ultimately succumb to it. Speaking of succumbing, Muhammad is heralded by Muslims, IQ, as being a prophet. He wants to be a prophet because, of course, all of the spokespeople for Yahowah were prophets. That was God's standard. If you cannot predict the future accurately, never being wrong a single time, if you can't do that, then you're not speaking for Yahowah. That's his standard. So Muhammad wanted to be a prophet, but did he deliver the goods? Did he get a single prediction right?
Not one. The remarkable thing is that the Quran itself says that he's not a prophet. It doesn't matter that in some verses, because people have got to understand something. Every letter, every word, every chapter and every verse in the Quran were not given to Muhammad by God, called Allah, or by Gabriel. They are the product of Muhammad's imagination. So he put his own verses in. And in some verses he says he called himself or labeled himself a prophet. But the Quran also has verses that proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that he isn't. For example, Al-A'raf 7.188. It says, Muhammad is saying here, if I had knowledge of the unseen, I should have multiplied all good and no evil should have touched me. I am but a warner, a bringer of glad tidings to those who have faith. Yusuf 10.20 says, they say, again Muhammad is talking, why is not a sign sent down to Muhammad from his Lord? That means a miracle. He says, tell them, the unseen is only for Allah to know. Then wait ye, that means you people, my followers, I too, Muhammad, will wait with you. In very clear language, Muhammad is telling his followers that no man, including himself, But only his God Allah can tell the future. This means that Muhammad said he cannot prophesy. And this is in the Quran. Remarkably, sorry.
I just want to ask you a question. The Quran verse that you cited first, it was in the 7th surah. What verse of the 7th surah was it?
188.
Pardon me?
188.
Oh, 188. The reason I asked the question is that Muhammad saying that he was just a warner and someone who was bringing glad tidings for those who would believe, who would have faith.
He was copying the New Testament, obviously.
Yeah, he was exactly what Paul wrote. I mean, it's what he is saying is, I am Paul to the Arabs. That's, because Paul only made one prediction. He only has one predictive statement in all of his 13 letters, and the one that he predicted he got wrong. It was on something that the Christians call the rapture based upon Paul's letters. It's actually the Teruah harvest, and he said it was going to happen within his lifetime. He got it wrong. So the difference between Paul and Muhammad is that Paul did not try to pretend that he could see the future. Paul only made one prophecy. Muhammad actually made many prophecies. It's just that they're all dumb beyond belief. I think what happened, IQ, is that the first Muslim, or the first Meccans that listened to Muhammad said, you're not inspired by any God. If you were inspired by God, you'd be able to predict the future. Because everybody else that was inspired by God could predict the future. God knows the future. How come you don't know it? And he just came up with this, well, it's for Allah to know and I don't know. But then as people continued to press him, Muhammad was motivated to try to come up with a prediction. It's kind of like when the Jews pressed Muhammad on 3 stories, and he came up with Alexander the Great being a Muslim that visited extraterrestrials that lived around the sun, the great traveler, with the horn one, speaking of Alexander the Great. It's just that you press a guy that's lying enough, and finally he'll give you what you're asking for. And so Muhammad actually did make some predictions. Like he said that in the last days, rocks are going to talk to Muslims and tell them that there's a Jew hiding behind me killing. And it's just that in the last days, what was his prediction? Everybody will be hoary-headed and men will outnumber women like hundreds to one. He made predictions, but they're all so dumb, you have to shake your head and say, why did anybody believe this guy? And why do Muslims call Muhammad a prophet?
Over 50,000 satisfied squatting customers can't be wrong. If you suffer from difficult or painful bowel movements, join the thousands who are finding success with the Squatty Potty. Not a cleanse, ointment, or pill, Squatty Potty is a simple, lightweight, yet sturdy footstool that fits around any toilet and elevates your feet. Squatty Potty improves your posture, and that allows proper alignment of the colon. The result is faster, more effective elimination and relief from nagging constipation, hemorrhoids, IBS, and bloating. Squatty Potty is doctor recommended and endorsed and comes with a 60-day hassle-free money-back guarantee. The Squatty Potty, a healthy step in the right direction. Squatty Potty starts at just $34.95 and can only be ordered by calling 855-628-1099 or through our website, squattypotty.com, spelled S-Q-U-A-T-T-Y, potty.com. Squatty Potty, healthy colon, happy life.
You've heard about our MRE smorgasbord. Now, Long Life Food Depot introduces the most unique, safe, and longest-lasting way to stash emergency food, the Eat Pod. Most survival food products recommend an ideal storage environment, including low temps, low moisture, and low oxygen. If you're storing in a basement, too humid, garages and attics, too hot. But the waterproof, double-walled, high-density polyethylene patent-pending Eat Pod is a unique rollaway food bunker that creates the perfect conditions, can be buried up to 30 feet, and can keep your survival food supply safe, secure, dry, and virtually undetectable for 25 years or more. Get full details on the Eat Pod at eatpod.com, spelled EATPOD.com, or call 800-601-2833. That's 800-601-2833. The Eat Pod from Long Life Food Depot. Since 1983, sending real food to your real future.
Why should you be in Arizona this month?
One reason, Prepperfest AZ. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, April 26th through 28th. Get free training and hands-on experience from leading preparedness experts.
Everything you need to be prepared.
Plus longevity information. And guest speaker Dr. Joel Wallach speaks on Sunday. Don't miss Prepperfest AZ, April 26th through 28th.
In Scottsdale, Arizona.
For schedule and flyer worth $2 off, go to PrepperFestAZ.com. That's PrepperFestAZ.com.
We the people grow cotton, weave fabric, engrave ink, embed strips and fibers to protect from counterfeit and carting to a private bank, having it led back at interest, forcing taxes to service debt. This capitalism, or was Jefferson correct when stating a central bank issuing the public currency is a greater menace to the liberties of the people than a standing army? Hi, Ted Anderson. I'm placing a free silver dollar in a book that explains our monetary system. Call for your copy, 800-686-2237. It's time to understand the system. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
The coming financial collapse is real. The subsequent social unrest will happen. Even if you made it out of suburbia alive, where would you take your family? Act now to secure your survival retreat in the American Redoubt with the experts at survivalretreatconsulting.com. The American Redoubt is the designated safe haven for all liberty-minded patriots relocating to Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. Get eyes, ears, and boots on the ground. Get professional, confidential, discreet advice. Get survivalretreatconsulting.com. Call 208-627-2855. Save time, money, and stress while you secure your ultimate survival retreat property now, before it's too late. Water, energy, food, defense. survivalretreatconsulting.com. survivalretreatconsulting.com.
Guys, you've heard about Ageless Male, the natural supplement that helps boost testosterone levels within normal, healthy ranges. But now, the best testosterone product is even better. New and improved Ageless Male can help you feel more like you used to in your active life and in your romantic life. Because our upgraded formula has been clinically shown to increase your drive, desire, and performance. That's right, guys. Ageless Male has been clinically shown to boost performance. Cancel your plans this weekend, you're staying in. If you're ready to recapture the drive from your youth, now is the time to try Ageless Male, because it's available risk-free. But you must call now. Just call 1-800-501-0876. Be the guy you used to be. Just call 1-800-501-0876. That's 1-800-501-0876. 1-800-501-0876.
Hello, welcome back to Shattering Myths. We're here with the author of Lifting the Veil, The True Faces of Muhammad and Islam, IQ al-Rassooli. IQ, I have a theory, and my theory also requires a little information from you regarding your next point. That the hadiths enumerate a great number of miracles that were allegedly performed by Muhammad, which contradict the Quran. Now, I think one of those miracles was, didn't Muhammad glue the moon back together after he broke it apart?
That's it. That's the one I'm going to recite to you.
Oh, please. Please. One of my favorites.
Well, see, this is remarkable. Let me start with this one. Sahih al-Bukhari 4.401, narrated by Auf bin Mali. The Prophet said, count 6 signs that indicate the approach of the hour. That's the end of time. And it adds, he says, my death, the conquest of Beit al-Maqdis, that is Temple of Solomon, a plague that will afflict you and kill you in great numbers. Ladies and gentlemen, as far as I know, and as we all know, not one of these predictions came true. And we're talking about this prediction was 1400 years ago. But the following is the very best. Muslim, Sahih Muslim, 4.146.
Let me just interrupt 1 second. There was an attack on Solomon's temple, but it was perpetrated by the Assyrians circa 550 BCE, which would have been 1,000 years before Muhammad made the statement. There was an attack on the second temple by the Romans in 70 CE, but that was also about 500 years prior to telling us what has happened in the past and pretending that's a prophecy, you got a little problem with your timeline on that one. And what's also interesting is the Black Plague, which was the great killer of so many people around the world after Muhammad's invention of Islam. It was not did not affect those living in the desert because there wasn't enough concentration of people. The Black Death only worked where there were large concentrations of people, and for that you need cities and civilization, something that they were not good at. So go ahead with that thought.
Sahih Muslim by Abdullah bin Mas'ud says, we were walking along with Allah's Messenger at Mina. Mina is a place in Saudi, what they call Saudi Arabia today, where the moon was split up in two. One of its parts was behind the mountain, and the other one was this side of the mountain. Allah's Messenger said to us, bear witness to this. According to this hadith, ladies and gentlemen, the moon was physically split into two distinct parts and somehow came back together. Of course, according to this astounding miracle, it was witnessed only by the illiterate and uncivilized pagan Arabs and not by any of the surrounding great and ancient civilizations, so much so that no other people have recorded this incredible cosmic event. Ladies and gentlemen,
can you imagine
to decide?
Yeah. Can you imagine the half of the moon being so close to the Earth that it's on a side of a mountain, that the half of the moon's out there in space, it's on one side of the mountain, the other half of the moon is on your side of the mountain.
Well, considering the fact
Just
that
think
the
about
moon
the
is
stupidity of that.
380,000 miles away, as I said, I leave it to the imagination of the people who are listening to decide whether Muhammad and his God are actually intelligent. Al-Baqarah 2.204. There is a type of man whose speech about world's life may dazzle thee, and he calls Allah to witness about what is in his heart. Yet, he is the most contentious of enemies. This is in the Quran. Ladies and gentlemen, this verse is the most incredibly truthful one in the Quran, since it fits Muhammad perfectly.
Yeah. I have a theory on all this. I have a theory on all this. I think there's a reason that Muslims call Muhammad a prophet, even though he didn't get a single prediction right. And I think there's a reason that they attribute these great miracles to Muhammad, such as splitting the moon into two pieces and bringing half of it right here onto the planet. And that is that Muhammad has no credibility. He was one of the most foolish men who ever lived. He was one of the most repulsive men who ever lived. He has no credibility. So now if you're trying to establish a religion based solely on one man's recitals, and that man has absolutely no credibility, what are you going to do? You're going to try to infer that he has credibility, and you're going to ascribe all manner of things to him that aren't true, like calling him a prophet and telling the world that he created miracles. And so I think it's just a desperate attempt to create a veneer, an impression regarding Muhammad and his Quran and his God Allah that gives them credibility that they do not have on their own.
That is exactly why they want to shut everybody up who makes any comments about Muhammad. If Muhammad was truly what they say he was, why should they be upset?
Right.
All they can do is they can prove that he was right. But since they cannot defend the indefensible, and Quran and Muhammad are indefensible, that's why they resort to violence.
Yes.
That's why they want to shut everybody up. They want to have everybody submit to Islam. By submitting to Islam, then you don't question.
Yeah. One of the things that there's two parts of this that I think that are interesting from the real God's perspective. One is when the real God talks about false prophets, when he talks about people like Muhammad, like Paul, he always distinguishes them in the opening discussion of how you can tell if a prophet's false. He is going to say that they will be claiming to do signs and miracles, that they will be claiming to making a big show of things. Because God's not show-off. God's just not a show-off. And so he says, somebody's claiming to having done all of these signs and wonders, these miracles, that's your first clue that they're pretending to be somebody they're not. And then the next thing that God says is, because I am energy-based, I'm not stuck in the ordinary flow of time. I have actually witnessed your future. So I'm going to create a means that you can know for absolute certain whether or not it is me that is inspiring someone's words or they're making them up on their own. And here's my test. You can use this test. That person that I have inspired is going to predict the future, and every prediction that they say, because I have given it to them, will come true exactly as it's articulated. And if somebody tries to predict the future and they get a prediction wrong, you know that they're not only a false prophet, but to follow them is deadly.
But Muhammad never got a single one of them. Let alone one. I mean, I don't mind if he had made 10 and 9 of them were correct and 1 bad. Well, it can happen. But not a single one of so-called predictions that he make that came out to be true. Not one.
Now, if you are actually a prophet for God, 9 out of 10 doesn't cut it.
I agree.
9 out of 10, according to God. If Muhammad had gotten 9 out of 10 prophecies right, then we should view, according to God, Muhammad as a false prophet. But Muhammad, as you said, didn't get 9 out of 10 right. He got everyone wrong. And you know, it's not that hard. I'm not a prophet, you're not a prophet, but I know that we're going to engage in World War III, and that Islam is going to continue to become more fundamentalist, that Muslims are going to cry bloody murder until Israel gives up the West Bank, and when the country is vulnerable, and the West has supplied Muslims with every weapon that you can imagine, that Muslims are going to start World War III, and that billions of people are going to die as a consequence. I know that. It's obvious. And I'm not a prophet, and yet I'm able to predict what's going to happen.
Yes,
why couldn't
you're
Muhammad?
Very generous. You're very generous. You're predicting 2027.
Yes, I know.
You're very generous, believe me.
Yeah, I'm not predicting very far out in the advance, and I did cheat because I read the prediction. But you know, even what's interesting now. It is interesting here, and this is a valid point. You're right, and it's I'm guilty as charged. I'm really not predicting the future. I'm simply conveying God's prediction. Is that you knew and know that this is going to happen. You know that Muslims, because the world is accepting of Islam, because the world is not willing to condemn Islam, that you know, apart from Yah's predictions, what's going to happen in the next 20 years. In fact, your whole mission is to interpret what you know about Islam, to recognize that unless the world wakes up and begins to oppose this religion, and to call it what it is, that billions of people are going to die. And is that not, that realization is not the primary motivation for you doing this program and for your books?
100%, I agree with you.
Yes.
Because, but I have less hope than you have. You are projecting 2027 because you interpreted what Yahowah has told you.
Yes.
Me, I think we don't have 4 more years without another nuclear war.
Yeah, it is certainly possible that the next 15 years will be hellish before we end up in World War III. Yosha's statements, he called it birth pangs. You know how a birth pang becomes more intense and more frequent in the immediate time preceding the birth of a child? Well, he used birth pangs to talk about what these next 15 years were going to be like. So what he said is what you're saying. Yes, it's true that we're going to be engaged in World War III, an Islamic war against Israel, which because of the way, for example, Syria is now with China and Russia on one side, the United States and Europe on the other side, Sunni Muslims on one side and Shia Muslims on the other side, that kind of proxy war is going to erupt into World War III within the next 15 years. That's correct, but you're also correct in saying that the next 10 years is going to be hell on earth.
Yes, no question whatsoever. The remarkable part is we have leaders who are completely and utterly out of touch with reality.
Right. The reason that, and I'm going to reemphasize this, the reason I think that you're amongst the most important people in the world today is that we're talking about the disease, the poison, that is going to lead to the death of billions of people over the next 15 to 20 years. Billions of people are going to be poisoned and are going to die as a direct result of Islam. And you're one of the few people who has taken the time to prepare yourself so that you can speak out against this disease so that fewer people consume the poison. I'm not sure there's anything more valuable than your testimony. I am Yada. This is Shattering Myths. We'll be back after the commercial break. But I'd like, in the meantime, everyone to pause and reflect on that. This man is bringing us the antidote for a poison that, if that antidote is not consumed, will kill billions.
Are you still a traditional smoker? Now experience a new lifestyle and try vaping with e-cigarettes by LeSig. Imagine no ashes, stains, nasty smell, or coughing and hacking. With LeSig e-cigarettes' revolutionary microelectronic technology, rechargeable battery, and unique replaceable cartridge, you'll get all the benefits and satisfaction of smoking without the hazards. Choose your taste from a wide variety of our new American-made vape-free e-liquids at LeSig.com. And LeSig smokes the competition by serving thousands of worldwide customers with real people customer service, fast, free, same-day shipping, and a 30-day warranty and satisfaction guarantee. So are you ready for a new vaping lifestyle? Then call 870-518-4307. That's 870-518-4307. Or visit LeSig.com, spelled LECIG.com. LeSig e-cigarettes for today's modern smoker.
What do you do when your propane runs out and you don't have a large amount of wood for cooking? That's when you need a Grover rocket stove from StockStorage.com. The Grover rocket stove starts easily with any combustible material like junk mail, small twigs, leaves, weeds, or dry sagebrush. Then just add a small amount of kindling wood and you'll be cooking entire meals in minutes. Grover rocket stoves are made right here in the USA and are built to last a lifetime using heavy-duty thick-gauge steel and are painted with high-temp paint to withstand heat. Go to StockStorage.com and see 3 great Grover rocket stoves, stainless steel, heavy-duty, or our original Grover rocket stove for only $135 and get free shipping to the lower 48. For phone orders, call 801-361-6984 or go to StockStorage.com. That's 801-361-6984 or StockStorage.com. The original Grover rocket stove minimal wood use cooking stoves, available exclusively from StockStorage.com.
Being prepared against possible food shortages and economic collapse is not complicated. Just remember 2 words: disaster stuff. Add .com after those 2 words and you've got just one site for all your preparedness needs. DisasterStuff.com prepares your family against food shortages with Linden Farms freeze-dried foods in buckets or Gourmet Reserves freeze-dried food in numbered 10 cans, both with free shipping. Purify and rid your water of contaminants with a Big Berkey or other Berkey system and get free shipping, plus a water level spigot or fluoride filter at cost. And protect your radios and other electronics from EMPs with our EMP Faraday bags, starting at just $5.90. When the food shortages and economic instability happens, be ready with all your stuff from DisasterStuff.com. Just remember 2 words: DisasterStuff.com. Freedom through self-reliance and personal responsibility.
What do you do when your government is engaged in unconstitutional acts? And what should you do when our elected officials fail to uphold their oath to protect we the people from foreign and domestic enemies? Hello, fellow patriot. I'm Pastor Broden of the Constitutional Defenders of Texas, and we have discovered a constitutional answer to these questions. The answer is found in the First Amendment to the Constitution. The 5th platform in the First Amendment is the answer to our government operating in an unconstitutional way: the right to peaceably assemble and petition redress for grievances. Redress means to set right, to amend. It is a remedy for a wrong or an ill perpetrated against we the people. Sign our petition for redress at c.x.com. That's c.dotx.com. Redress equals solution.
Ceramic body armor is rated to stop 6 hits. But what about the 7th? Unlike ceramic or Kevlar, Infidel body armor is proven to take hit after hit, and it just won't quit. Reasonably priced and designed for the smart civilian prepper, Infidel stops hundreds of hits from small arms to high-powered rifles. That means safety and peace of mind. Buy yours at InfidelBodyArmor.com. Spelled INFIDEL BodyArmor.com. Infidel Body Armor just won't quit.
We the people grow cotton, weave fabric, engrave ink, embed strips and fibers to protect from counterfeit and carting to a private bank, having it led back at interest, forcing taxes to service debt. This capitalism, or was Jefferson correct when stating a central bank issuing the public currency is a greater menace to the liberties of the people than a standing army? Hi, Ted Anderson. I'm placing a free silver dollar in a book that explains our monetary system. Call for your copy, 800-686-2237. It's time to understand the system. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
Hello and welcome back to Shattering Myths. We're here with IQ al-Rassooli. IQ, it strikes me that there are several different things that have to be done if you recognize how poisonous something is and what its consequence is going to be. One of those things is you have to undermine its credibility so that people are not beguiled by it. That's what we're doing in this program. The second is you have to explain the nature of the poison itself, which is something we've done on many programs to explain what Islam actually represents. And the third thing you need to do is to let people know the consequence of continuing to embrace and accept and weaponize this destructive foe. And so your point 30 is in that first column of undermining the credibility of Islam so that people are more open to understanding what it actually represents. And that is that the Quran says, and Muslims protest, that Muhammad had knowledge of all subjects, from astronomy to mathematics, and also history and future events that were all relevant to his Quran and Hadith verses. But is that true? Did Muhammad know anything that wouldn't be commonly known to an illiterate person in Arabia?
In fact, he knew less than that. With all due respect, what I need from you today, if possible, how is it possible for our leaders, who are literate people, who have spent hundreds of billions of dollars on intelligence, come to the wrong conclusions, and you and I are fighting their fight? Why? Yes. Why are we doing the job that they should have done?
You know, it's amazing, IQ, that when I started on radio and started with the first books, one of the things that was always brought up to me and thrown in my face when I said that the invasion of Iraq would be counterproductive, that we would strengthen Islam and play into its hand as opposed to weaken it, and that the invasion of Iraq, in addition to Afghanistan, was suicidal, that it was counterproductive, and began to present the true nature of Islam. I got call after call from American patriots that said, how is it possible that you, without any resources, without an intelligence agency, can be right, and the United States with the CIA and NSA and all of its great intelligence and wealth is wrong relative to this religion? So it's the same question.
They are wrong.
They are wrong.
But they are wrong. They have proven themselves wrong again and again and again, and yet not a single person wants to admit it.
Yeah, you know, it's so interesting. You don't need an intelligence apparatus. You don't need the NSA with its hundreds of billion-dollar budget. You don't need the CIA going off and doing reprehensible things around the world to understand who our enemy is and why they're killing us. You can go and with $5, you can go buy a Quran, and with maybe $10 more, you can buy a copy of the Hadith, or you can go online and read them for free. And you know exactly what Islam is. You know exactly who this enemy is. You know why they're killing us. And you know that everything that we have done thus far has played right into their hands.
And yet that's not happening.
Yes. Why is it not happening? Do you know that Prophet of Doom is a banned website by the U.S. military?
It's possible, yes. I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't be surprised. I mean, What I'm shocked about is that the military are letting down the soldiers who are dying in Afghanistan, the soldiers who are dying in foreign countries, the soldiers who are dying on American soil, like in the Fort Hood example.
Yes.
When you have a man who is shouting Allahu Akbar, the minute a man is shouting Allahu Akbar, it is not a work killing. This was an act of terror. He was, what they call him, takbir. Takbir is when they shout Allahu Akbar before they slaughter the infidels. This was an act of terror, and yet they wouldn't give them the pension. They would not give them the Purple Heart. I find that obscene beyond any language. I can't figure it out.
Yet when you send your sons and daughters to die killing on behalf of a religion and in foreign lands, that is, as far as I'm concerned, it's murder. You know, we told Americans that we were going into Iraq because Saddam Hussein, who was a secular leader, had weapons of mass destruction, and that we were going to defeat his military. America never fought his military. We fought jihadists. We fought fundamentalist Muslims. And we gave the country to Iran as a result of that invasion. And with Afghanistan, all we did is temporarily push the fundamentalist Muslims out of that country, sacrificing blood and coin so they could destabilize Pakistan. And the moment we leave in Afghanistan, what's going to happen with the country and with the Taliban?
Within 1 month, the Taliban will take over. Within 1 month, the Taliban will take over.
And it's absolutely obvious. So why did we sacrifice so much to do nothing but hurt ourselves?
So why are you and I right and they are all wrong?
Great questions, IQ.
Hi, I'm Dr. Joel Wallach, the Dead Doctors Don't Lie guy. There's no reason why you shouldn't live to be at least 100 and have a great time getting there. And I'm going to give you a free copy